October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. According to the American Cancer Society, breast cancer is the most common cancer in women in the United States outside of skin cancer. It accounts for 30% of all new female cancers each year. According to the CDC, nearly 13,000 new cases of breast cancer were reported across West Virginia and Ohio in 2023. Every Wednesday, we have been bringing you an in-depth look at the fight against breast cancer. Our Shyla Florence joins us in the studio for this week's episode. Shyla.
Thanks, Phyllis. Statistics show that the average woman has a 13% risk of developing breast cancer in their life. That is 1 in 8 women. We've looked into the types of breast cancer, how it's tested, diagnosed, and treated. Today, we're looking at the symptoms and risk factors.
According to the American Cancer Society, every woman is at risk for developing breast cancer. However, some women are more at risk than others due to certain genetic risk factors. Memorial Health System Breast Health Navigator Jane Kessler says some genetic risk factors include age and race.
We increase our risk for breast cancer as we age. There are also certain ethnic groups, Ashkenazi Jews are one, that are at a higher risk. We have very few down here in our area of Ashkenazi Jewish descent. But another reason would be breast density. Women, as they age, again, have more breast density as opposed to fat in the breasts.
Another genetic risk factor could be a family history. If you have a first-degree relative with a history of cancer, while certain genetics can make a person considered high risk, WVU Medicine Camden-Clark nurse practitioner Joe Hendershot says that genetics make up a small percentage of breast cancer cases.
Genetics can factor in, but only in usually less than 10% of cases are genetically linked. So most female breast cancers are not related to genetics. So you can't solely rely on that for screening purposes. It's a very small percentage.
Environmental and lifestyle risk factors are things that can be changed to help reduce the risk of developing breast cancer.
So things like smoking. Smoking puts you at higher risk for almost every type of cancer. Obesity is a risk factor. So keeping those things under control.
Dr. Sabir Huzan with WVU Medicine Camden-Clark says that most signs and symptoms aren't always noticeable.
And signs and symptoms develop, like if you have a big mass, that's one of the, or you have painful mass, or you have bleeding from there or discharge from there, it's already late. Sometimes you have some nipple discharge or retraction of the nipple without feeling mass, that you may diagnose it early, or some skin changes, you can go to the doctor and it can be diagnosed early. But most of the time when sign and symptom develop, it is already become more advanced.
If the cancer goes undetected and spreads before it is found, there are some symptoms that may appear.
If in advanced stage, you can have bone pain, you could have shortness of breath, depending where it is metastasized, where it is spread, you have sign and symptoms.
All the healthcare providers I've spoken with for this segment say that breast cancer screenings will often find the cancer before any signs and symptoms begin. That's why knowing your body and attending your yearly screening mammograms are so important. To find more details about signs and symptoms and what makes someone high risk, visit the web story at WTAP.com. Next week, we will hear the stories of local breast cancer survivors from around the Mid-Ohio Valley. Phyllis, back to you.
Shyla Florence reporting in the studio. Shyla, thank you.